Today we'll continue from where we had left in previous lecture, CS1. We did introduction of C++ programming and then programming approaches in which we had learned unstructured programming, procedural programming, modular programming, and object-oriented programming. And we were doing idea behind object-oriented programming, and we had started with benefits of OOP, and we were on fifth point, which is polymorphism, and we were seeing the example of function overloading. Function overloading is an example of polymorphism. There are many examples. There are other types of polymorphism also, but function overloading is one of the type of polymorphism. Polymorphism means which can have multiple forms. Same thing can be represented in multiple forms. So function overloading is an example of, is a type of polymorphism, and we had seen an example, a code in previous lecture. I think this was the example. Yeah, this was the example. This was the example we had seen, in which I had told you the function overloading is functions having the same name but different parameters. In this example, we have this function area, we have this function area is this function, and again we have another function whose name is area. But can you see the parameters of this area function and the parameters of this area function? They are different. So functions having the same name but different parameters, or you can say different number of parameters, is known as function overloading. So let's see what is happening here in this program. This program is to calculate the area of a circle and area of a rectangle using function overloading. This is the program which we have written here. So here iostream.h header file you know, conio.h you know. Then we have two function prototypes. Why we require function prototype? When we declare a function other than main function, we have to specify the function prototype. We have to specify the function prototype. So how we specify the function prototype? This we will come to this later. This is the main function. I told you execution of the program always starts from the main function. Whatever you, it doesn't matter what you have written before and after the main function. Execution always starts from the main function. Then here we'll see what is written in this function. Here we have declared a function area. Since this function is going to return some value, this function is going to return a value whose data type is double. Double is used for decimal numbers. So double, this function is going to return a value whose data type is going to be double. That's why here double data type is specified before area function. And there is one parameter r. R is the parameter, or you can say variable, whose data type is int. So this variable holds integer value. Okay. So this area is going to calculate the area of a circle, that which is pi r square. So here is one variable which is area1. This is one variable of this function. This is a variable of this function, okay, whose data type is double, that is in decimals. Then there is another variable which is pi. This is a variable whose data type is again double because decimal value, and for pi value it is 3.14. We have given the value to this variable as, to this variable pi as 3.14, and this is area this variable, this variable, can you see we had declared this variable area here. So this is a variable is equal to pi into r into r, which is pi r square. So this is going to be 3.14 into r. From where the value of this r coming from? Where the value of r coming from? I'll tell you from where it is coming. Okay. And okay, so what is happening? Let's go back to main function. So this function is actually calculating the area of a circle, and it's going to return a value whose data type will be double. So let's get back to main function. Here's the main function. In this main function, we have three variables: radius r, l, and b. These are the three variables whose data type is int. And then we have other two variables. This is one variable area circle, and this is area rectangle, the another variable whose data type is double. So total how many variables it has? R, L, B, area circle, and area rectangle. Now this statement, what it's going to print? Enter length and breadth. On the output screen, the let us imitate the output of this program. So the output of this program will be enter and breadth breadth. And next thing is C in L and B. The value of variable L and the value of variable B will be taken as input from the user when the program will be compiled at runtime. So for example, I am giving length and breadth as I'm giving length and breadth as, for example, 3 and 5. I'll give L value of L as 3 and value of B as 5, of course, because this is C in. The user can give any input. I am giving L and 5, 3 and 5. Then we have another variable, area rectangle. Here can you see area rectangle? This was the variable here. So area rectangle, I mean this variable area rect is equal to area in brackets L comma B. That means wherever there is bracket, that means it's calling a function. It's calling which function? The function which has two parameters whose data type will be int, because L is the integer value and B is the integer value. See, B and L is the integer value. So I'm passing the value of L to this function. To this function? No, because the parameters are different. For this the parameter is only one, but I am passing two values. So compiler will not consider this function. It will consider this function. The value of L will be passed to this function and value of B will be passed to this variable of this function. So this is determining which function? This function, not this, because the parameters matches with this function. Number of parameters are 2 and this also has 2 parameters. Okay, if you remember, we had done in 11th pass by value and pass by reference. This is an example of pass by value. See, I'll recap what is pass by value and pass by variable later, but for now just keep in mind that value of L will be passed to this variable L and value of variable B will be passed to this variable B. It's not necessary that it should be L or it should be B. It's not necessary. It can be any other variable P and Q. How? If you remember scope of a variable, global variable and local variable. So if you have gone through what we had studied in 11th, global variable and local variable. If I am declaring a variable outside any of the function, for example, int z semicolon, so this z variable is global to the entire program. Where the program ends, where is the program ending? Always execution of the program always starts from the main function. So within this main function, what is there? It is ending here. Okay, so the this variable will be present throughout the program. But if I'm talking about this variable, the scope of this variable is local to main function. As soon as the main function will close, the this variable will also be removed from the memory. Okay, as soon as this variable this function will close. Or if I am talking about, for example, if I have declared, yeah, here we have one variable area1. So scope of this variable is local to this area function. As soon as this function will close, this area will also will be not, this area will not be present for any other function in the program. So global variable and local variable, I have just recapped that what is global variable and local variable. So I hope it's clear to you. So yeah, so I have passed this L to this L, and I have passed the value of B to this B. It's not necessary that it should be L or B, it can be P and Q also, any variable also. But why we have taken same? Because it will be easy for us to understand which function I'm calling. But this will create ambiguity. The question might be arising in your mind that how is this possible? The same name of the variable is same and still I'm getting the output. Why? Because I have told you scope of the variable. This L is for this main function. This is local to main function, but this L is local to area function. So I had told you, as soon as the main function closes, the variable which is declared in the main function is no longer present in the memory. Whereas if this L I have declared in this main function, that means this is local to area. So this L and this L is not related to each other. I can, instead of L, I can use P. P will be local to this area. So is that clear to you? Why we are not getting error? Because of the scope of the variable. This is local to main and this is local to this area function. So value of L was 3. I had taken the value of L as 3. Okay. As input I had taken 2. So this L, the value of L will be passed to this L, and value of B I had taken as 5. So 5 will be passed to this variable B. Clear? So now this area has another variable area2 whose data type is int. So value of L was 3, value of B was 5. So 3 5s are 15. So this is calculating the area of a rectangle, length into breadth. So L into B, 3 into 5, which is 15. So area 2 will become 15. Area 2 is going to become 15, and this function is going to return the variable area 2. Area 2 is what? Integer, which is 15. So this function is returning 15. Indirectly it is returning 15. That's why the return type of this function is int, because int is an area 2 is an integer value, and area 2, after executing this statement, the value of area 2 will be 15. So 15, this function is returning 15, which is integer value. That's why the return type of this function is int. Is this clear? If I would have not used an L and B here, I can use P and Q. Okay, I told you it's a matter of scope, local scope and
So
global
it
scope.
only takes, ma'am, it only takes the data type of that above main function variable,
This one you are talking
the
about.
PNQ one.
This here I am actually declaring a variable in the area function. This variable is not declared anywhere here. I'm passing the value of L to P, passing the value of B to Q. Anirudh, actually I didn't get your question.
Ma'am, my question was, if you said in the main function, it's that is local to only the main
Yeah,
function.
correct.
So by pass by value, how will it P and Q get the value of L and B as it's local to that function?
I am This is how we call a function. Okay, this statement means I'm calling an area function. Okay, and if I want to pass the value of L to this area, I'll have to specify the L here so that this L can be passed to this variable. This is known as pass by value. You remember we had studied pass by value. This is an example of pass by value. This is how we pass the value of a variable to a function. This is a
Okay.
procedure you have to follow in C++.
Okay. So it will not matter, right? So whatever you take over there.
Here, P and Q, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because if I take L here, it will be local to this function. So it doesn't have to do anything with main function or this function. It is local to area function. It is limited to area function only. No other function can access that. So if I'm taking instead of L and B, here I'm taking P and Q. So here I will have to specify P and Q. Okay. If I'm taking L here, here B, then here it should be L and B. So let us stick to what is given here, L and B. So I hope it's clear to you what is pass by
So
value. Yes,
it takes the value and put it in. How does it recognize that he has to go to the int area, int one, int L, int B
because
from?
of the number of parameters and the data type of this variable. The data type of this variable is int, data type of this variable is int, and the number of parameters are 2. Here also number of parameters are 2.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this function after, so we were here. Here we had called the area function to which we are passing the value of L and B. And after this function gets executed, this function is going to return 15. So area rect will be is equal to 15 because this function is returning 15. So the value of the variable area rect is 15. Okay. Now next statement is cout. So this is going to print something on the output screen. So after this, what's the output going to be? Area of rectangle. Area of rectangle is, what is there here? Here it is area rect. Area rect. The value of area rect was 15. So it's going to print 15 here. It's going to print 15. Okay. We were on this. End L, that means the end of this line. So next statement which is going to print will be on a new line. So next statement is cout enter radius. So it's going to print enter radius. And C in, here it's taking input from the user. So radius, you can give any value for the radius. For example, again I am taking 3. And next statement is area circle. So can you see this area circle is this variable whose data type is double. Its data type is double, right? So this area circle variable is equal to area r. So which function it's calling? This function. Okay, because one parameter is there and r is what? Integer value, and this variable is also integer value. It's not necessary that you declare this as r. You can take any variable. Okay, then in this, if this is calling this function, so whatever is there in this function will first get executed and then it will be back to the main function. So in this function, what is there? It has one variable which is area 1, and again there is one variable which is pi is equal to 3.14. then this area 1, this variable is equal to pi into r into r. So r's value will be what? 3, because we had taken the value of r in the main function as 3. That's why the value of r is passed to this variable r, and for this function r is 3. So pi into 3 into 3, so 3.14 into 3 into 3. So whatever will be the answer. So answer will be 28.26 something, 28.26. So the area 1 is equal to will be equal to 28.26, which is again double. Can you see this area variable is equal to double? So 28.26 is double. The value it's going to return will be double value, which is 28.26. That's why the return type of this area function is double, because it is returning a decimal value. So this function is going to return what? 28.26. So when this function will end, it will be back here. So this area, what is this going to return? 28.26. So area circle is equal to 28.26. So this variable is equal to, this variable area circle here, this area circle is a variable. So value for this variable area circle will be 28.26. And then on the output screen, what you will see out area of circle is of circle is value of area circle will be printed. See, can you see the thing which we want to print on the screen should be in double inverted commas. And if we want to print the value of a variable, it shouldn't be in double inverted commas. It should be written in without double inverted commas. So value of area circle will be 28.26. This should be the output. This is the expected output. So let us run this program in Turbo C. To make this screen as full screen, what you'll have to do, first you'll have to take your mouse over the screen, click on that and press Alt Enter. Okay, so the screen will be in full screen. So open, I'll have to run it again. So this is the program here. One thing we have to use is CLR SCR. And getch. Getch and CLR SCR should be in the main function, not in any other function, because execution of the program, whatever you have written in the main function, that only matters. So CLR SCR and getch should be in a main function. One more thing, the prototype, function prototype here. Can you see we had used two functions other than main function whose name was area, and this area had one integer parameter and this area had two integer parameters. That's why area in brackets we will declare int, and the return type of the function area in brackets the data type of the two parameters we have used in the area function, which is ln and the return type of this function. So this is function prototype. So let us compile this program. Let's see what's the error here in this. Yeah, here I have not closed the double inverted commas. Sorry?
Get ch पे semicolon नहीं है.
Okay, so I'll give the semicolon here. no errors. Let us run the program. Enter length and breadth. I had taken 3 and 5. The area of rectangle is 15. Radius I had taken as 3. Area of circle is 28.26. So this is the output of this program. So I hope it's clear to you what is function prototype, what is function overloading, okay, and pass by value. This is how we can pass the value of a variable to another variable. And also I hope it's clear to you what is scope, local scope and global scope. Okay, and I will give you the example of pass by reference. This was pass by value. There was one more topic we had learned, pass by reference. This is important topic which usually comes for the 12th also. From this question from 11th standard comes in the 12th paper also. So pass by value we have discussed, and later when I will give you the example of pass by reference, that time I will give you the difference between what pass by value and pass by reference. For now, just keep in mind how we can pass a value of a variable to another variable. Here the example which we had seen was an example of pass by value. The value of one variable was passed to the value of one variable was passed to the another variable. So this, I hope function overloading is clear to you. My motive was to explain you what is function overloading, and function overloading is an example of, is a type of polymorphism. Okay, so let us see what's written here. Through polymorphism, same thing here, area function, same thing can be implemented in slightly different manner. Same function but different parameters. Same thing is been implemented but in slightly different manner, providing more flexibility in the design. Okay, now features of OOP. So these were the benefits of OOP. I had told you that RD Supekar you have to refer for what? For understanding purpose. But if you want to prepare for the exam, you should go through TPS, because in chapters they have given the chapter in question answers form. So for 3 marks at least, if there's a question for you, write the features of OOP. There is question for you, write the features of OOP. So you are supposed to write 6 points. Okay, so here if they have asked you benefits of OOP, if you will write 5 points only, then you will lose half mark. So make sure you prepare according to the marks, because mostly in CS questions come for 3 mark, 4 mark and 5 marks. So for 3 marks minimum you have to write 6 points, minimum 6 points. And for 4 marks minimum 8 points. Your answer should only be in points, not in paragraph. Okay, if you are going to write, even though you have written completely correct answer but they are not in points, then you are definitely going to lose mark. So make sure you write your answers in points. Either you can use bullets in the paper, or you can use numbers or alphabetical order. Any which way you have to write your answers in points. So for 3 marks minimum 6 points, for 4 marks minimum 8 points, and 5 marks are only coding. Either the 5 mark question will be from HTML or from C++. Okay, so make sure you prepare from the TPS. Same thing will be written in the TPS, only it will be easy. You'll not have to make the notes. The notes is already prepared in TPS, so it will be easy for you just to study from there, because the answers are given in points. Okay, same thing will be given in the TPS also, but in a way, the way in which you want to write in exam, in that way it is given in the TPS. So features of OOP. Features of OOP. Programs are divided into objects. We know, we had seen an example of class and objects. So programs are of course divided into objects, and different objects communicate with each other through messages called methods. You know, member functions, you know, na, which we had studied. So if two objects want to communicate to each other, they will use the functions. So programs are divided into objects, and different objects communicate with each other through messages called messages. Functions are also known as methods. Okay, another term for functions, member functions, you know, another term for functions are methods. Emphasis is given on data rather than procedure. What is procedure? Function. Procedure is nothing but function, and data is the variables. Data members, you remember we had seen that example. See, this was a data member. This is a variable. This is data. And this is member function, procedure, method. The another term for function is method, or you can say procedure. So emphasis is given on the variables data rather than functions. Okay. Data is hidden. I told you how the data is hidden by using private access specifier. Functions other than member functions of a class cannot access the private members of a class. This example again we had seen. Functions other than member functions. This is the member function of the class, but here the class is closed and main function is outside the class. So this function cannot access the private member of this class. Okay, it can access through member function. This I had explained you in previous lecture. So data hiding is possible in C++. Data is hidden and can't be accessed or altered by external function. That thing is explained in a sentence here. Functions operating on data of an object are encapsulated, tied together in single data structure called class. Again, this can you see? This data member and this member function are encapsulated in the class. They are encapsulated in the class. That is what it meant. Encapsulation is there in object-oriented programming. So here we are talking about not only C++, the other languages which follows object-oriented programming. So here we are learning features of OOP. So Java can also be an object-oriented programming. So here we are learning about OOPs, and C++ follows OOPs. So I hope this is clear to you. The fourth point. Fifth, new data and functions can be easily added whenever necessary. So if I want to add a new data, that can be added very easily, and if I want to add new member function, that is also possible. That can also be easily added in the object-oriented programming. Sixth point is follows bottom-up approach in program design. When the programmer designs a program, so he follows bottom-up approach. Bottom-up approach means whatever we are doing in object-oriented programming is around objects. So the complexity of the problem is divided into objects to subtasks. A complete task is divided into subtasks, or you can say multiple objects. So we are dealing with objects and then we are integrating all the objects and forming the complete program. Whatever we are doing is around the object. That's why bottom up approach, from low level to higher level we are going. That's why the OOP language follows bottom up approach in program design. So these are the 6 features of OOP.
I didn't understand the last one.
Okay.
Follow bottom approach.
We are actually, whatever we are doing is doing for this object. Whatever we have written here is only for this object.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is object is actually low level. Whatever we have written here is for this object. So we are dealing, and this class can have multiple objects. The problem is divided into subtask, you can say. The problem is divided into multiple objects, and whatever we are doing is around this object. So this is low level. From bottom we are going up, bottom up. For example, if I want to have a laptop, so in a or a computer, you can say, a computer can have a keyboard. Keyboard can be developed somewhere else. Mouse can be manufactured independently.
Yes, ma'am.
Then processors can be manufactured by Intel company, you can say. After develop manufacturing everything, we come and integrate everything together. So subtasks, and then after integrating it completes the final task. So it is bottom up approach, from lower level to higher level.
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever we are doing is around this object, and a class can have multiple objects. So for this object we are writing all this. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is bottom up approach in program design. And the example which I have given you is also known as modular design also, because everything is developed independently and later on we integrate it. So keyboard is one module, mouse is one module, processor is one module, and at the final stage we integrate everything. That is also known as modular design. Bottom up approach and modular design. Okay. Now next topic is C++ as object-oriented programming. Till now we had seen what? We had seen idea behind object-oriented programming. What actually is object-oriented programming? We learned object-oriented programming with the help of C++. And here we learned about benefits of OOP, and then we learn about features of OOP. Now we have to see C++ as object oriented programming. We actually started with C++ only, the example which we saw of object oriented programming with C++. So here we will see C++ as object oriented programming. Okay, so I think I should continue this in next lecture. And I think we should stop here.